Well, welcome back, everybody. Today, I want to talk to you about school camps and excursions. If you think of your own school time, this was often the most exciting thing. You hear about this school year above that went to the zoo or on a camp, or the anticipation is often huge around these activities. Yet for many kids with ASD, that anticipation equals anxiety, so they don't want to go, or they don't go. And for me, that's really upsetting because that's where school memories are often made. This is where kids often talk about for years the trip. Remember when we went to the Great Aussie Bush Camp in my daughter's case, or remember when we went on camp and it rained for 5 days. So many memories come from that, but often it's linked to the curriculum. So for example, in Australia, many kids go to Canberra in year 6, but it's linked to learning about Parliament and so forth, or they go into the local state parliament, having a little mind moment there. But so often, or they might be learning about animals and they go to the zoo. So often, actually, the activities are anchored in the curriculum. But it can even be an incursion. So, for example, my kids, when they're in secondary, often did Shakespeare plays, and the school would get the actors to come into the school, and it would be a whole year group, what's called incursion, not excursion. Now, kids talk about that for weeks. There's often notes going back and forth. They often might mean a change in schedule because they're not doing their normal schedule. And we all think, this is exciting. This is wonderful. But for this kid, it's daunting. It's scary. It's unknown. And we really need to look at what we can do to make it a success for these kids, because I want these kids to participate. Recently on Facebook, I asked people what they did to ensure kids on the spectrum got to go on these excursions and camps. And in fact, I should have printed it out before or made a copy before I started this podcast. But it was a school principal actually who emailed me and said, Sue, I really want these kids to enjoy school camp this year. What can I do? And so I actually asked that on my Facebook. I asked her permission to ask on Facebook. And the feedback from schools and parents and teachers was amazing. But so many parents were like, I want that school principal. But it really is all about preparation. It's really thinking about what are the challenges that are going to be for this kid? What are the things we need to know? So as always, this is on my blog. You can download it and read it anytime. Share it with other people. My phrase that I always loved when I was in junior primary, sharing's caring. So sharing is caring. Print this out. Share it with other people. Make sure people know these tips and strategies. Don't reinvent the wheel. Most teachers in my doctorate research said, I'd love to teach this kid, but I don't have the time, resources, or support. What my tip sheets, blogs, podcasts, my aim is in the next 20 minutes, you get strategies to make this trip with this child, this excursion, this activity a success. Because guess what? That'll take the stress out of it for everyone. If you follow my tips, if you start Googling, guys, you're going to spend hours going down that rabbit hole. I'd recommend you just grab my tips, go, yep, this will work. Okay, I need to talk to this person. What can we do? Because, guys, I have supported so many kids, and some of these tips are from my Facebook friends and community, and they are telling us what's worked. I really want to share with you what worked. I highly recommend that you think about what you can do. Now, I do have from Simone what she said made a difference to their kid to go on camp on my blog, and this is from that Facebook post. So I'm going to read this to you because it's just fantastic. And if you're not a Facebook friend of mine, please join. It's just Sue Likey, teacher. We have the most supportive Facebook community. I mean, I'm always posting things and getting amazing feedback from people. And I just love that when I post a question, it just makes you feel like you're not alone dealing with that, or not dealing with, struggling, or you see that question and you don't have to even be involved in the conversation, but just knowing other people have these struggles, other people are confused, other people are overwhelmed. Just having a community that's so supportive, because my Facebook community, I so often get on there and get teary at how beautiful they are at providing positive strategies, really helpful hints. The other week I put something about a beautiful mum who'd been struggling with her teenage boy who's still wetting the bed at night. And the feedback and solutions were amazing. And then the mum emailed me going, Sue, this is just fantastic. We've tried so many of those things. It's just good to know we've been on the right track. And there's a few new things there I hadn't thought of. Thank you so much. And I do think it's about that. Anyway, this is what Simone said. Our school makes social stories, including pictures of all activities, sleep arrangements, bathroom, toilet, dining room, recreation hall, and outdoor areas. Just as an aside, guys, you can pretty much get that on all the websites now. You don't even need to go out there to take the photos and videos. Personally, what I used to do is go out, take a video when we had our old cameras, those big clunky ones. I used to take a video from the child's perspective of all the what they were going to see, where they were going to sleep, important. There, one year I had boys that loved electronic gadgets, so I made sure there's a microwave, there's a washing machine, and here's the TV, and this is what brand it is. So things like that can make a big difference. So I used to do it. This is when I taught in a class of mainly nonverbal kids. That was really important that I made them that video they could watch over and over again. And even after we'd been on camp, they used to love rewatching it, which was so cute. So anyway, I love that class. Anyway, back to Simone. Education support staff also show the children the website and talk about the food that will be served for all meals. The kids that were worried about food had their own on standby supplied by the parents. If, yes, camp isn't too far away, for some parents, they made arrangements to take their own child to have a look around a few weeks before camp and take their own pictures, which is brilliant. And Anna Tullerman, who I've written a number of books with, she used to take her son Daniel in advance, book into the same camping grounds, the same hotels, and they would pretty much do the schedule they were going to do. And her point was he wasn't there to learn about the activities. For him, it was all about the social, and he was working hard enough on the social. You didn't want him worrying about the food or where he was sleeping. And I understand that he was used to the environment and noises, because she really wanted him to work on his social skills, which again is what they're going to get out of camp. It's that social skills. So back to Simone. Sorry, I'm just trying to get. All activities are optional for all the kids. There is no pressure to do them if the kids don't feel able. We have education support staff who the children are familiar with to go on the camp and give extra time if necessary to our kids who come back feeling a great sense of achievement and pride. How beautiful is that? How can that not make you teary? I read that and I'm like, they come back with this massive achievement and pride because they've been set up to succeed. They've been given the things that worry them, the food, where they're going to sleep. That's all told in advance. If they're not comfortable doing activity, they don't have to do it. Some of my kids, I let them be the photographer or make the video. So they're still involved, but they don't have to do the activity. So they can video everyone else doing the activity. So they're still participating and engaging. Or find some way for them to be helpful. Give them high status. That's what I like to do. Give them a really important job, like counting all the kids on and off the bus, making sure, everyone's got their bags. Yeah, keep them busy, but also give them downtime. That's what I find. So often I'll have kids who aren't in a really busy cabin, or I'll make sure that they maybe go ahead to the dining hall for 20 minutes. He was a boy with limited communication. He's still like putting the drinks out in the cup, but just giving him a bit of repetitive tasks that kept him calm. And his mum had told me that was something he enjoyed doing. I had another boy, James, who used to love making hot chocolates for everybody, but he just liked the quiet time in the kitchen and stirring the drinks. And this is really important. In my tip sheets, I have said give the kids at least 2 weeks warning. For some of my kids, it needs to be longer. One of my boys a couple of years ago, he'd never even been for a sleepover. So I had to get mum to organise him to have a sleepover at grandma's and really practice that. So that was like a 6-month getting him ready for a big school camp. So depending on your kids, some of my kids, if you give too long a warning, they'll get anxious, some too short of it. Parents will know. Talk to parents and carers about how long they need. Pictures we've talked about. Get the family to go and visit the place, absolutely. Make up books with information. Allow the child to choose their sleeping arrangements. I would say with that, where possible. Often that isn't really possible. And I've got kids who choose and then change their mind. And sometimes, depending on the age of the kid, teachers and teacher assistants are the best people to know that. And allowing them to provide their own meals is very important. Guys, this isn't a nutrition camp. This is about making sure they eat, because if kids are hungry, it's hard to regulate their emotions, and make sure they're drinking too. So if they have a favorite purple drink bottle, take it with you. If they have a favorite Thomas cup, take it with you. If they just eat 2-minute noodles for 5 days, I honestly don't mind, because my aim is participation. Keep your eye on the goal for this one, not on what they're eating. And please, I can hear some of you saying, but then all the other kids will want 2-minute noodles. Remember, fair isn't everybody getting the same thing. Fair is everybody getting what they need in order to be successful. One of my favorite quotes of all time. And you know what? As long as you explain to kids, they understand. It's just like, well, you know what? I know you don't all love the camp food, but you're going to have a go. For Jack here, he only eats 2-minute noodles, and that's okay. Just, this is part of his sensory processing. Are there smells you don't like? Are there tastes you don't like? Are there foods you don't eat? So I tell me, turn it back on the kids. Okay, tell me about your food. Tell me about clothes you don't like, because everybody has some sensory thing that they can relate to. Travel, just many of my children do get bus sick and car sick, so be aware of that. Often best at the front of the bus, or think about who they're next to, or maybe they're best with a spare spot next to them if you have one. Not always possible, I understand. Because often the further down the bus, you'll remember, the noisier, the more noise, more sensory overwhelm. Really important one, particularly if there's no toilet on the bus and you're going on a long trip, let them know where the toilet stops are. And again, if they're at the front of the bus, they can get off first and go quickly, which is important to them. Or if there's air conditioning, make sure that's on. Things like that. Parents, make sure they've got the right clothing on. A lot of my kids overheat, so keeping an eye on that, particularly when they're anxious. So I think if you have a look at the tip sheets, most of this makes sense. But I think one of the things that people forget is to talk about the emotions. Everyone's going to be excited, or people are going to be anxious. And if you are feeling away, what can they do? So if you're worried, what can you do? If you can't sleep, what can you do? But I find this helpful to talk to the whole class about, or the whole year group. If you're hungry, because often at home they're used to just grazing and going to the cupboard and getting something. If you've forgotten something, if you're worried about something, because sometimes they'll do an activity and then be worried about it. So really talk about the feelings, what emotions, talk about what they need to regulate their emotions, what do they use at home. Really talk through some of the things they're going to feel. And the one that Anna Tullemans talks about in our Ultimate Guide to School and Home and the Essential Guide to Secondary School, if you're going to an excursion where they have to use, like to an art gallery or library where they have to use a quiet voice, talk about that before. Or are there time, like at night, people will be talking in the rooms, but they'll be talking in whispers. Talk about that. But when we're outside running around or on the big swing or slide, you can make as much noise as you like. Because I think on excursions, this is one of the things that confuses the kids. At school, they get to learn sort of inside voice, outside voice, but this is a whole new environment. So talk about volume, talk about emotions, but really talk about what to do. And I find sometimes talking to the whole class, because my guess is this isn't the only child who is anxious. Now, the other one that I've done many times over the years is get an older kid down to talk to them. Get someone to come and talk to my kids who have already done the excursion. Let them tell the stuff, because often an adult's perspective compared to a child's perspective is very different. So they often love talking to the older kids. So get an older kid to be a mentor, to talk to them about camp. Get them to go through the photos. Get them to go through the video. So they can go, oh, yeah, this happened there. Or, oh, yeah, no, that we had to wait ages for that. Their perspective will be very different. So I really encourage every kid you know to be involved in excursions, camps, incursions this year, I'd love you to think about how you're going to make it a success to ensure they can be part of these fun parts of education and what you can do to set them up for success, but also yourself, because I find those days exhausting anyway, and school camps, you come home absolutely exhausted. And I think a lot of that is the anticipation and the energy we put into the planning. But the more you can do in advance, the more you can actually enjoy your time with these kids. And one of the things I've learned over the years, and I've seen this so many times in schools, is where, be honest, they're really worried about taking a kid on the excursion or the school camp, or the parents are really worried. And these kids just thrived. Absolutely loved it. Shocked everybody what they were capable of. And people come back and go, we don't know why we were worried. We don't know why we were concerned. But can I say that probably through that concern and worry, that what you did is put in place the strategies I'm talking about. You anticipated a lot of things, which meant you set the child and yourself and the family up for success. So best of luck. As always, guys, please email me if you have any questions. When you get my e-newsletter on camps and excursions, just respond, or any emails I send you through my e-newsletter. I'd love you, if you are so inspired, to rate this podcast, because the more of you that say you enjoy it, the more people that will see it, and the more people that see it, the bigger difference we can make. So enjoy, make a difference, and please let me know how your camps and excursions go this year.
I hope you've got some great tips and strategies from this podcast. If you enjoy learning with me, I highly recommend you think about doing a course this year. Not only do I have courses by me, I have them with people with a lived experience, Temple Grandin, Dean Beadle, or other educators like Laura Kirby on PDA. I have a wealth of courses that'll make a difference to you. So make sure you check out all my online courses, because you can learn online, anywhere, anytime, in a place that suits you, at a speed that suits you. So check out all the online courses that are available to make a difference to you and the children you know.